Imagine, your planet has been at war for 2 years. It is on the brink of total destruction. And the only way to stop the war, the only hope your planet has left, is a soap opera. Hello, my name is Mia Thatcher, and today I'll be presenting you Lost in Translation, an original story by Joel Thatcher. Lost in Translation is a comedy-adventure sci-fi novel targeted towards a preteen audience, but it's also a story that can be enjoyed by older ages as well. It follows a young linguist named Larry Lingo, whose planet, as I mentioned before, is undergoing a war with another alien race. Things aren't looking good for Larry's planet, and they're unable to make any negotiations because neither of these planets can understand each other's languages. But then Larry finds a copy of a soap opera from the enemy planet called Dying Stars of the Heart, and he uses it to learn their language. Obviously, studying a soap opera is not the most ideal way to learn a language, but Larry has to make do what he has in order to save his planet. After studying and rewatching it more times than he can count, Larry now has to represent his entire race in order to stop the war, using his newly learned cheesy soap opera dialogue. And as you can guess, things do not go as planned and shenanigans ensue. There's been this wave these last 2 decades of this new kind of genre, the media for kids, but also kind of just for everyone kind of media. There's tons of examples ranging from comedies like SpongeBob to the horror genre like Coraline. Now, there are many examples of this kind of genre being used well, and plenty of examples of this kind of genre being done oh so wrong. One of these examples is the 2011 Disney animated movie Mars Needs Moms, which, like Lost in Translation, takes a creative spin on this sci-fi genre, which, well, the plot being Mars needing moms. But Mars Needs Moms did not get its tone right. Philip French, a top critic from Rotten Tomatoes, commented on how children are unlikely to enjoy it, and parents will be aching for a few stiff drinks in Mars bars before the movie is over, end quote. Aside from its gritty and ugly animation, Mars Needs Moms tries to be this cool and darker kids movie with its dirty and grimy atmosphere and not so cutesy alien design. It tries to appeal to older kids by being this edgier side to Disney, but it ended up being a dumpster fire in the eyes of all ages. Literally. Another member of this genre with tonal problems is the 2016 Netflix original series Voltron Legendary Defenders. Now, Voltron is very similar to Lost in Translation, being a comedy-adventure sci-fi series, and although Voltron is overall looked back on a pretty decent show, it definitely has its problems with tone and is decreased in quality as it went on. I mean, the show started off with an audience score of 94% in Season 1, and leaving off with a 6% audience score for Season 8 on Rotten Tomatoes. The main problem Voltron faced is that it wasn't exactly sure whether if it was a kids show or a show for adults. For example, let's take the death of one of its main characters, Shiro, in Season 2. Voltron caters to its more mature audience with a major character death that severely impacts the team, since Shiro is their leader. But it would also be a death that would be too dark for younger audiences, so Shiro is brought back in Season 3. But the problem is, the team has already made its adjustments for Shiro already being gone, and they elected a new leader. So what now? Sarah Morgan, another critic from Rotten Tomatoes, explains how awkward the team's dynamic is after Shiro returns. It's like the writers didn't really know what to do with him. Now that Shiro's back, he's kind of just there, and they kind of just sweep him under a rug as he just fades into a minor side character. I asked Joel Thatcher how Lost in Translation deals with its tone and how it balances between the darker themes by also being appropriate for younger ages. And he responded with, quote, Lost in Translation works and is totally consistent because it knows what it is and it isn't ashamed of what it is. It definitely deals with darker themes, but it deals with the dark moments with a lighter tone and a light touch of humor that makes it both accessible to both kids and adults, end quote. Now, with all this work, why cater to both ages? Well, when done right, it not only creates a story that can be enjoyed by everyone, but it also can introduce kids into certain genres they will grow up to love, And in this case, it will make reading more fun for older kids, especially when they're at the age where reading starts to become more of a chore than it is an activity. An article in the New Yorker by Rebecca Mead discusses some of the backlash some teachers have against the Percy Jackson series, one of Lost in Translation's main influences. The main complaint for the books is that they're too casual and they don't challenge young readers enough. As a defense for Percy Jackson, Mead quotes novelist Neil Gaiman in his discussion of how, if not careful, adults can ruin reading for kids. Quote, "Well-meaning adults can easily kill a child's love of reading, stop them from what they enjoy, or give them a dull book that is the 21st century equivalent of a Victorian literature. You'll wind up with a generation convinced that reading is uncool, and worse, unpleasant." End quote. Reading should be fun, and it shouldn't be anything that you have to force upon a kid. Books like Percy Jackson and Lost in Translation provides kids with a good read, and it supplies with good humor and great scenes and quirky characters that keep the child interested. Another book like this is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Adam Douglas. Both books share the sci-fi genre in the wacky scenarios. Cole Smithy, a critic from Rotten Tomatoes, although describing the movie, comments on the plot that it has wacky fun that can be enjoyed by any age. There is also an article in The Guardian that, although written anonymously, captures exactly what these books are all about. Quote, "It is surprising to think how this book, read at the impressible age of 11, primed me with so much of the science and philosophy I was later to discover in far more serious and weighty tomes, and was an early but vital instruction on how the English language can be made to do amazing things and defy all rules while still making hilarious sense." End quote. This is exactly why books like Lost in Translation are important. They provide kids with an easy but also enjoyable read that they will carry on until adulthood, and they will look back fondly of. Who knows, they might even share it with the next generation. I have copied a link of a rough draft of the first 2 chapters in this presentation, and I highly suggest you reading it. Thank you so much for watching.